Is up, NFC West football fans, and welcome into another edition of the NFC West Roundtable powered by BetUS. Week 5 is in the books. Wow, what a stunner of a Week 5 it was within this division. I can't believe I'm saying it, but only one of our 4 representatives tonight came out with a W. A crazy week in Week 5 for the NFC West, and we're going to dive into it with you here tonight on the NFC West Roundtable, and let's get right into it. And in order to do that, we got to bring in the one man that stands alone after Week 5, and that's my man Mike with the shades on. Mike, you did it. You're the lone.
Let's go. It's been a while, man. I feel like these shades were collecting some dust. Much needed win for the Arizona Cardinals. Super excited to be here. And yeah, Bird Gang, where are you at, man? Let's go. Shades are on.
We'll switch it to the one bird in the division here that you would have thought we would have came on here and been talking about a W guaranteed, and it didn't wind up happening. Brandon, I don't know what to say. That was the lock for me, and it didn't end up going that way.
I want to come in here and say we're in first place, but it's more like we're in first place.
That's how it feels right now. This division is wild, and we were just talking to Jake off camera. Despite the loss, it's still anybody's ball game right now. Jake, how you feeling?
I'm feeling about as good as you can covering a 1-4 football team. So, have at it, whatever you would say in that regard. But no, all things considered, the Rams are extremely lucky. They have a bye week 6. They're going to get healthier. I was really impressed with a lot of things that they did in the Packers game, meaning, they took some guys out that were kind of the dead weight of the defense and, are getting other guys some snaps. So, we'll see what ends up happening. But I think the next 5 games, not all of them are easy, but they're easier. So don't be surprised if the Rams are back into this thing not long from now.
Nothing's going to surprise me at this point after this past weekend watching this NFC West. Let's bring in Jesse. This was another one that I was a bit stunned by. Jesse, I got to ask you.
Z-Bot. Yeah, you're probably wondering, backstage, I was on camera, and you're probably wondering what's going on. A couple weeks ago, we started that when your team wins, you wear glasses. And I'm proposing that when you lose, you don't have to show your face. That would make me feel a lot better. But unfortunately, that's not a part of the deal, and I have to show my face. Congratulations to Mike and the Arizona Cardinals, I guess.
I got to be honest, Jesse, I thought you were doing a white balance on your camera. I'm like, man, this guy's getting real into it.
He dropped the hurricane opportunity because it's the hurricane, guys. Sorry, I can't.
Well, unfortunately for me, I got to join 3 of the 4 of you here in torment because right off the bat, Super Chat, Mo Maggot's coming in. He's going, what happened to the Bills? Hey, Mo Maggot, this is supposed to be a safe space for me where I don't have to talk about my Buffalo Bills. But since you asked, why don't you go ahead and ask them? Because I have no idea. If incompetency could be defined by a football drive, go ahead and watch what the Bills did on their final offensive possession against the Houston Texans. That's what happened. But to give you as black and white of an answer as I possibly can, I have no clue. It better not happen again Monday night against the Robert Saleh New York Jets. This AFC East, fellas. I mean, at least your NFC West right now is competitive. The AFC East is an absolute train wreck. Speaking of the NFC West, why don't we head over right now to BetUS and take a look at the odds in which are currently being shown to us in terms of who is going to take this division. And as you can see in front of you here, the San Francisco 49ers still remain the favorite to win it at minus 115. Seahawks, despite the fact that right now the Seattle Seahawks still in the lead, they are at plus 225. Cardinals at plus 400. Woo! How about that? And then Jake, these Rams at plus 1,600, but
wow,
maybe it might be worth a couple bucks at plus 1,600. Those don't seem like terrible odds for not being completely out of it. With that said, if you're looking to getting in on that plus 1,600 or any of these odds, because right now it truly is anybody's division. 150% sign-up bonus with BetUS right now. Just use the promo code YouTube150. That'll get you a 150% sign-up bonus up to $2,000 on your first deposit and 125% bonus on your next 2 deposits after that. Real quick, Jake, your thoughts on the plus 1,600 there?
I think you got to put one bet on that, right? I mean, you don't normally get odds like that at this early on in the season, and a team that, and I'll say this right now, I understand 1-4 is not great. I'm not happy about it, but it's a different type of 1-4. It's not the Panthers 1-4 where you're like, oh, this is really our best shot, and we're just not that good. The Rams have been in 3 of the 4 losses that they had. I mean, they came down to the wire. And once again, they lost a game they should have won. They outplayed Green Bay. They outplayed Chicago. But they're getting healthier and they have a bye. And I think the bye is going to be huge for evaluation. And I think that the Rams have kind of balked at the idea of taking out their 2 linebackers because they were the smart ones, right? They traded Ernest Jones away. They know more than we do. Well, I think now with this bye, I think it's going to kind of put them in a position where they have to make a change at the linebackers. We saw Akella Witherspoon actually start the game. Darius Williams is back. So I think a lot of good things are happening, but I think more importantly, it's not even just Cooper Kupp. I think the offensive line, they've stretched this thing out as much as they can. They need at least one of those guys back. Stafford's been hit about as much as any quarterback in the league. So it is getting to that point where they've gotten as much as they can, but now they need to start getting some guys back. And luckily they'll be doing that in sub capacity week 7.
We'll talk about that Rams loss to the Green Bay Packers in just a bit. Ruiz coming in with the super chat. He's saying, Jesse, please be safe. And that goes for everybody in the Florida area, Jesse included, of course. If you're in and around the hurricane area, our prayers go out to you. Everybody be safe. It's a scary situation currently. So we're thinking about all of you. Everybody be safe. Ruiz is also saying Jake the GOAT, Mike the Shades, Brandon the fill in the blank right there from my man B. B, is it a birthday today? We got Feed Me More Seahawks saying happy birthday, B. Is it your birthday?
It is indeed. Yeah.
Oh, fellas.
Old as
happy
F out
birthday,
here.
Brandon.
Happy birthday.
Thank you,
Do
man.
we
Appreciate
sing?
it,
Do
guys.
we do one of the diner things where we have one of those chants and we happy birthday from all of us to you, Brandon? Happy birthday! I wish the Seahawks would have given you a present against these Giants, but apparently they spoiled the birthday a little early, which is unfortunate. But regardless, I hope you had a great birthday.
I thought on Roundtable Sports when it was somebody's birthday, like that's when like Dan and Richie and TD all come onto the stage and they do a little birthday song for everyone. That's not how it works around here, man. Oh, geez.
Yeah, I figured they turn into the animatronics like at Chuck E. Cheese and they do a little song and dance for you for happy birthday. Maybe the next one we can get them going on that. I think that's a genius idea, Jesse. Feed Me More Seahawks. He's saying, I don't get the Saleh firing. I haven't seen a quarterback with that much power in a long time, and K9 is the best running back in the division. Listen, Feed Me More Seahawks. I think we could probably go around and spend an hour on that. I myself spent an hour on that this afternoon, and I could care less about the New York Jets. What an odd firing on a Tuesday off of a 3-pick performance from Aaron Rodgers where the defense saved the day in the second half.
He's not a good owner. That's why. He's a shitty owner. He's not good. And that is why. That's why you continue to be at the bottom of the league. That's why, even though your fans are loyal as hell, and I covered this team for a little bit, fans are loyal as hell, but they'll never go anywhere with Woody Johnson. He's an idiot. He's an absolute idiot. He focuses more on these new uniforms than he does actually getting together, a proper coaching staff and developing. Look at the way they treated Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson did not have a competent offensive coordinator either. So, yeah, I saw that and I was just like, whatever. It's just ridiculous to fire Robert Saleh like that, but it is what it is.
And the fact that Nathaniel Hackett's still walking those halls, that to me is the thing. I can't even wrap my mind around it. It's crazy. And of course, it has to happen the week they play the Bills too. Of course, that just so had they were waiting for that too. By the way, to get that dead cat bounce. So hopefully the Bills can bring them back down to life because the incompetency of the Jets deserves to be punished. I, for the life of me, do not understand that. We see the super chats coming in. We're going to get to them in just a bit, but we got to start with the man with the shades here because there's one victor coming in this evening for the NFC West, and that's my man Mike getting a huge W to improve to 2-3. His Arizona Cardinals beat Jesse's Niners 24-23. What a ball game. This past weekend had a ton of incredible games. This one included. Mike, the floor is yours. These Cardinals, they've looked good for the most part all year. It's just stringing together victories. That's what you guys are hoping for. They found a way to do it against the Niners on the road, no less. You're the man with the shades. Talk to me about how you're feeling after that big W over the Niners.
Well, I said this on last roundtable. Wouldn't it be funny, right? If the Cardinals were the only ones to win the season, everybody laughed, everybody chuckled. But obviously, right now, we're good and good, man. I think the Arizona Cardinals right now, the number one thing I wanted to look for is for them to learn how to finish games out. Because you're right, we did get absolutely annihilated by the Washington Commanders, but they're continuing to annihilate people here. So it is not that bad of a deal. I think we were just a little bit in our feelings because the whole Cliff Kingsbury coming back, but we were in a lot of these games. We lost by 6 points, by 7 points. And this game here was very, very good to see the Arizona Cardinals make the final push to get a win, and such a good win as well, because obviously the San Francisco 49ers, which are, playoff aspirations, Super Bowl aspirations, and we're 2-0 in the division. Can't say the same thing for the 49ers, but it's a good feeling. It really is. The Arizona Cardinals right now are playing very good football, and yes, we're not 100% clicking. You can tell there's still something off with Kyler and Marvin Harrison Jr. Something's not clicking now. You could either say it's Kyler, you can either say it's Drew Petzing, whatever it is. I just needed to get fixed. But overall, I think this game came down to the Arizona Cardinals team not forgetting that, or I guess not stopping to believe that they can actually win this game, because they could have came into the second half and said, 23-10, we're dead in the water, we're not going to do anything. But man, kudos to this Arizona Cardinals team, because we forced 2 interceptions on Brock Purdy. The fumble caused by Jesse Luketa on Jordan Mason, huge. So what this came down to is obviously turnovers. Kyler Murray, did he have his best game? No, but I don't think we absolutely needed him to have a glorious game, but we do need him to use his legs, and that's what we did. We automatically started off this game with a huge run from Kyler Murray, already calling his shot at the 40-yard line. It's cool to see him get his legs back under him, but overall, a good game. I think the defense, although a lot of people, including myself, has given a lot of flack and I wouldn't say negativity, but it's just a lot of concern with this Arizona Cardinals defense, primarily that defensive line, and not causing pressure to bring that quarterback down, because we're causing pressure. It's just when Brock Purdy was back there, literally was making us look really, really silly. He was back to like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 seconds, making a damn ham sandwich back there. So it was really frustrating to see it, but we got him down a couple of times. And this Arizona Cardinal team with our kicker, we ended up getting the job done. Now, I know I saw the comments already. If the 49ers had their kicker, it'd probably been different. Maybe. You're probably right. But honestly, this is one of those things where situational football, right? The Cardinals didn't have Matt Prater. We also didn't have arguably our best cornerback in Garrett Williams as well. So you just got to obviously, fight through the bell and wait till the zeros hit, 0, and the Cardinals were victorious by 1 point. But who cares? The Cardinals are not 2-0 in the division. I think it's an absolutely amazing win. I've been chiming in a lot of 49ers content creators, and everybody's panicking, and I love to see it. Everybody's talking about are they the best in the division anymore? I don't know. I mean, this is just one game. You never know. So overall, great game. I'm excited about it. I'm curious to figure out what Jesse has to say. But one thing before I let you go, another 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. What you got to say about that, Jesse? Sheesh.
Wild.
We're on Cincinnati. I don't know what
JK's coming in. He's saying James Conner is a beast. Go Cards. James Conner in this game, 19 carries for 86. Mike, you mentioned a bit about, Kyler Murray not having his best game, but he was right alongside with James Conner in terms of rushing the football. Yeah. 83 yards, a touchdown. He really supplemented his lack of an air attack in this game on the ground. I want to ask you real quick, because the big story I feel like here, 23 points for the Niners at half. A goose egg in the second half. And I remember you and I talking back all the way in week 1 when my Bills played your Cardinals. And I thought the defensive performance from those Cardinals in the first half was better than I was anticipating. You were just touching a bit on the fact that the defense wasn't getting home to Brock Purdy, but they did force a couple of turnovers. Your overall thoughts right now, though, on the defense being able to pull off that type of feat? Because if they don't, obviously they don't get out of there with a victory, having the margin be as low as it was.
Yeah, absolutely. Another game on. This isn't the first time we shut out a team. We also shut out the Lions as well in the second half as well. So it's a really good thing that this Arizona Cardinal defense can show that type of grit, because when you're looking at the roster, right, first thing you say is who's your pass rusher, right? So, you got to give kudos to this, this defensive coordinator and Nick Rallis, as well as Jonathan Gannon, for getting guys that, are bought into the culture. Because you're right, a lot of people kind of forget that, any player can make a play in any given Sunday, right? And just because you have a contract doesn't necessarily mean that you're him. Sometimes that's the case, but we do have some really good, talented players that are not big names out there, like a Jesse Luketa, Garrett Williams, which unfortunately didn't play. But we got a lot of young talent that, puts their nose down or put their head down and actually just grind, right? Mac Wilson Sr., like, what the heck? That's one of the most underrated guys that we ended up bringing from the Patriots, and he's working out wonders for us. Because you're White, another guy that we brought in from Philly. So overall, it's fantastic. I never thought that this Cardinals team was going to lean on a defense to win, but they were a big factor as to why the Arizona Cardinals won this game. And I want to be very clear. You are right. Kyler Murray did supplement it on the ground in terms of being able to get the yards on the ground. In terms of passing, that's what I was talking about. It wasn't the best passing, but you're right. I think when Kyler Murray gets involved with his legs, he doesn't have to do that. Now, would I have rather had more of a cushion? Yes, of course. But like I said before, a 1-point victory is a W regardless. So we're going to take this. We're going to move on to the next, and hopefully we're going to ride the train. So
808-9er coming in. He goes, what up, Jesse? Stay safe to you and everybody in Florida. Absolutely. Once again, to Jesse and everybody in Florida, we're thinking about you. Stay safe during the storm. Unfortunately, in these interdivisional matchups, there can only be one winner. And that, of course, means there has to be one loser. Jesse, you're on the losing end of this one. 23 points at half. Like I just said to Mike in a positive way, Cardinals find a way to stifle the Niners in the second half. No points. 23-10 at half, and they don't get out of there victorious. Brock Purdy, 19-35, 2 picks. And I saw you on Twitter being a little bit critical of Brock Purdy early on here in terms of kind of trying to figure out what this offense looks like through him in moments such as this. So your biggest takeaway from a game that felt like you really had it at half, all you had to do is maintain it, and they did the opposite, and they somehow find a way to not only lose this game, but to go below 500. Your biggest takeaways, Jesse?
Yeah, well, I want to say, you were talking about some unsung heroes, Mike. How about Jalen Thompson?
Yeah.
I mean, I give him the most credit for why they won that game. The second drive of the game, he's like, what, 5'11", jump ball with Kittle in the corner of the end zone on a fade route. Last week, mind you, George Kittle mossed 3 defenders to come down with the touchdown. He's got 5'11" Jalen Thompson on him, and Jalen stops that pass from being completed, holds the 49ers to 3 points on that drive, because the very next play, they don't score either. And then the final blitz on that interception, the timing of his blitz was so perfect, and he was able to get through, lay a hit on Brock Purdy, and seal that game. I think he deserves a ton of credit as well, man. And that wasn't the only one, man. When I was watching the all 22 for the 49ers offense, like 34 is everywhere. That guy's good. So that being said, though, yeah, I mean, right now the blame in this game at least is on the offense. And I think, it's interesting because 49er fans, we have a crutch. And that crutch is when things aren't going well on offense, we blame the offensive line, because traditionally the offensive line has not been good. They haven't invested in it. And there was really no reason to think that the offensive line would improve this year. But Pooney has really solidified that right guard spot, and it's elevated everybody around him. Right now, the San Francisco 49ers, by all statistical measures, whether you want to go on PFF, NFL.com, or ESPN, that offensive line is top 5 in pass protection. So why can't they score? Yes, they're missing Christian McCaffrey, but you still have Brock Purdy, who is an MVP candidate. You still have all those great weapons. You still have Kyle Shanahan. And now you have an offensive line that is more than good enough to win football games with. Red zone offense is the answer. They cannot score when they get in the red zone. They came into this game 3 straight weeks. I've talked about it. Hey, going into the Rams game, they're 50% in red zone touchdowns. We might want to keep an eye on this. Oh, well, they leave the Rams game at 50%. Going into the Patriots game, hey, they're at 50%. We might want to keep an eye on this. They come out of that game at 50%. They came into this game once again at a 50% touchdown percentage in the red zone. They left this game 1-4-6 in that same scenario. This is a team that was first last year at 68%. They're now down to around 40%. That is a major issue, and there's multiple reasons for it. They're not running the ball at the clip that they should be when they get down there. When they are running their ball, they're not doing it effectively. The play calling, I think, is out of whack. Brock Purdy's ball placement hasn't been good at times. You can blame everybody but the offensive line at this point on offense. There's a lot going on, and they just need to learn how to score, because between the 20s, offensively, the 49ers might be the best team in the NFL, but games aren't won on yards. That's why I've always hated the stat of who's the best offense in the league or who's the best defense in the league. And then to measure that, we go look at yards. That's never made sense. Are you scoring when you need to score? The 49ers have had chances to score. They are not scoring. They faced 3 bad defenses in a row. They couldn't get it done in any of those games. And now they're gifted a Seahawks team, which I think is a much improved defense, but they're missing 5 starters. So they've got their opportunity yet again to get this right, and they better do it, because they've got the Kansas City Chiefs, who are undefeated, going to be coming off of a bye, best defense in the NFL, headed to the West Coast to play the very next week. So if you don't beat Seattle, I'll say it right here, right now, stick a fork in my San Francisco 49ers. This is a must-win game. They cannot start 0-3 in the division. They cannot start 0-4 in the conference. With Kansas City, a team that they cannot beat, headed their way, they've got to win this week. It's must-win, period.
Your overall evaluation right now of Brock Purdy, 19-35 with those 2 interceptions, just as it stands right now, your thoughts? I mean, with the weapons, you had Debo back. I know you don't have CMC, but Mason's been playing well. Ayuk finally had his breakout game. Kittle's been playing well. Your overall evaluation right now, though, of Brock Purdy and how he's currently looked and how he affected this game towards maybe in the direction that you were hoping it wouldn't go into.
Yeah, I think Brock Purdy right now is looking a lot like Iowa State Brock Purdy. He's playing a lot of hero ball when it's not necessarily needed. The one thing that everybody fell in love with Brock Purdy was his anticipation. He would drop back, hit the back foot, make quick decisions, throw with anticipation. And if he didn't throw with anticipation, he would keep his legs live. He would never stand flat-footed at the top of his drop. I think after the Minnesota game, I talked about that on this very show, about how he was standing flat-footed at the top of his drops, and that was something I was not used to. I felt like he was walking himself into sacks that game, and people disagreed with me, and that's fine. But the stats are actually showing it. Right now, Brock Purdy ranks dead last amongst starters as far as creating pressures for himself. That is not the offensive line's fault. Right now, the offensive line actually is at a league best 3.02 seconds of protection before pressure rate, which means Brock's holding onto the ball way too long. I don't know why. I don't know. I can't understand why he's not seeing the field the way that he has in the past. When he is seeing the field, a lot of the times he's pump faking and then running himself into sacks. This is not the Brock Purdy that we have seen. Now, what I will say is Brock Purdy's still a very young quarterback, and young quarterbacks go through this. Sometimes the league catches up to you and you have to figure the league back out again. That's a possibility. But for this 5-game stretch to start this season, outside of the Rams game, Brock Purdy has 3 touchdowns to 5 turnovers. And the last 2 games, he's been 55% or below passing against bad passing defenses. That is not going to cut it.
Mo Maggot saying, Jesse, don't forget to use your Hawks Nest membership. That's what you got coming up next. As you
Somebody
mentioned,
gifted you that at one of my live streams the other night.
I know, yeah.
That
was pretty funny.
Well, you might
That was
want
pretty
to
funny.
after it this week, because that's who you're going to have to scout in just a couple of days from now. The Niners look to get back on track against the Seahawks. The Seahawks look to get back on track against the Niners. Brandon, I know it's your birthday, so I feel bad having to bring this up, but we got to talk about it. The Seattle Seahawks playing the New York Giants this past weekend, and I think everybody probably pencils in a W for the Seahawks going into that game. But the New York Giants scored 29 points in this one and get the W 29-20. Daniel Jones had a pretty productive day. The Giants ran the ball well. I don't really know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this overall, because these are the type of games where you probably sit back and you're just scratching your head. How do you wind up losing these games? So as you sat and watched this, what was your overall takeaway from the Seahawks finding a way to drop it to the Giants?
Yeah, there's the big picture and there's the smaller picture on this one, which I think there's some things that are telling you two different things pretty strongly on both. First, you let that googly-eyed bastard Daniel Jones tear you apart at home mercilessly, just over and over again. Whatever he wanted to do, you let him do it, and then you gave him a run game on top of it. So you decide to pretty much get no stops, create no pressure, not tackle particularly well, no chance of a turnover. It was brutal all the way around from the defense. Since the second straight week, we've seen that kind of performance from them. I do not like to ever be a guy blaming injuries or officiating. It's one of the places you just hold back to go to if you absolutely possibly can do it. But we are down edge after edge after edge. Our two interior defensive tackles still, one tried to play Leonard Williams, but he's obviously fighting through like a broken rib and he's nowhere near his normal self. I think one of your two linebackers is fighting through. You've got a guy with a club on his arm out there trying to tackle people and they're sliding off of him because he can't wrap up, and you can see it over and over again. Tariq Woolen leaves with an ankle injury. Then our one healthy edge that was still remaining left with a foot injury. It's just again and again over and over throughout this defense. So there's a part of it that's that. And part of it's too is the weirdness of it. His last 2 weeks is this is a loss that felt very familiar to Coach Carroll losses in recent years, where you run your front four, you drop your men back in coverage, your seven back in coverage, and drop them deep. So then you just kind of let the team do what they ever want to kind of do to you slowly. And yeah, it takes them a long time to work their way up the field, but you're not really holding back or providing much resistance. And on a day like this, where you were light-handed, like last week, we saw the same thing. Why not manufacture some things for your guys out there? Why not do something to help them out rather than just line them up and say, get it done, boys, backups? I don't think McDonald's done a good job, I think, of necessarily impressing Hawk fans the past 2 weeks in that approach. And certainly something I don't want to see this week again with the Niners, them trotting it out there. Your front four won't get it done. And we've learned this against Shanahan in recent years, who's been one of the great killers of the old Seahawks style of defense of, oh, you're going to go cover three. You're going to play off coverage with your cornerbacks. We'll run slants. We'll run in-cutting routes. We'll run outs all day long on you. We won't get greedy. And Giants did get greedy in this game. They took it to us. Again, big part of it injury, but another part of it is, again, performance. Offensively, Geno continues to really carry this team throughout this season. The pass protection has not gotten any better. You barely run the ball when you're committed to running it. And when you do run it, you're also one of the more inconsistent teams of the league at running it. So it continues to be a high degree of difficulty. As now we throw the defense onto the mix as well. So you got to score every time, Geno. Score every time, Geno. So it's a very difficult point, but he's still at least holding the line, giving us a chance in this game. We had the chance down the line. I'm not talking about the blocked field goal. He's driving you at the end of this game. He's making great throws, great decisions. He's got like 9 comeback wins over the last 2 years, in position to do so again. And JSN gets a brutal drop on a 7-yard out route that he's got to catch. So Geno's still holding the line. Overall, not everybody else necessarily was on the offense to go along a little bit with the defense. So a complete team loss up and down, special teams even contributing there at the end. And tough to have a lot of confidence going forward off this one. Big picture, just really quick, is that you come in thinking, okay, maybe this is the year we can contend to this season, end of this game, but you come off the last 2 losses and you have to do a little bit of, I think, rechecking as a Seahawks fan going, was I maybe jumping the gun on this a little bit too early? We're going to have to maybe wait on this one a little bit to let this take with this new coaching staff?
You mentioned it just a second ago. You still had your shot at the end. So just talk me through where you were at mentally on that blocked kick, because I think everybody in that moment was thinking, yeah, the Giants have played it tough here, but Seahawks are still going to find a way. And then all of a sudden they're running it all the way back into the end zone.
Fans have a penchant in a major way, because of football having a finite amount of snaps in it, to concentrate on one given play in a game and make that a point of obsession. And I'm not talking like, oh, they kind of lean on it too much. They make it a point of obsession. There are Hawk fans coming out of this game that are on that one play and that the refs killed us and this is why we lost the game. You let Daniel Jones cut you apart. I shouldn't have to say anything else after that point. That's an earned loss there at home, not in New York in a snowstorm. Well, the wind was a blowing. No, no, it wasn't. You let him drop dimes all over Danny Dimes. So that's, to me, the part where you go, what had more of a factor in a 150-play game? This one play here, that could have been a call, could not have been a call. Whatever with that. Even our coach is saying we could have coached it up better, which I think that's a part of it. Or the 149 other plays that factored into the result of the game. So, and it's one of the things that drives me crazy about, for instance, the whole second Super Bowl play, where I think simple minds and real, like, cave kind of troglodyte types go, yeah, run the ball. You didn't run the ball. It's like, what about the 10-point lead you lost in the fourth quarter defensively in that game? What about the rest of the plays? Why one play? Arbitrarily, you take one play because then you nullify the whole rest when you do that.
The Daniel Jones situation, too, even more wild, knowing the fact that he didn't have Malik Neighbors. And you go out there and you watch this game, and it's Darius Slayton that winds up being the guy that carves up the Seahawks. I don't think anybody saw that coming, but you're right. That's probably the best way to put it, because it is easy to look back at that one play. You had 1,000 other chances to not even allow it to get down to that play. Eric's coming in with a banger of a super chat. He's saying, I'm a fan of a smack talking amongst all of us, but we should all just be holding each other right now with the chaos in this division. That being said, go Hawks. We owe the 49ers a loss like the Lions and Giants owed us. So I guess if we're looking at it from Eric's perspective, he's confident about Thursday night, but the overall state of the NFC West right now, he's not particularly loving it. But we appreciate the super chat, Eric. I'm trying to find where I found this super chat because it's the size of my entire screen, and I can't see it to get rid of it.
Used to here in the NFC West being sort of for about the last 7, 8, 9 years, year after year, just about the best division in football, or probably number 2, legitimately without being biased. And this might be one of those years where we're more down in the lower end of it, which I think has got to inform everybody in this panel, is in the respect of you kind of have a chance, maybe even up to the end, because there might not be somebody that just goes and runs away with it.
100%. Yep.
Yeah, and I think that adds to the intrigue too. Even though it's not the best football right now, it's certainly making up for a very competitive division, which I think we all thought it would be. I don't know if we thought it would be like this, but it's certainly shaping up for games like Thursday to be super critical. And of course, as the season moves on, it'll be interesting to see how it all unfolds. Adding to another loss amongst the 4 of you, 1 victory for Mike, the loss for Brandon, the loss for Jesse, and then, of course, the loss for Jake. The Rams find themselves on the losing end yet again, this time to the Green Bay Packers, and the Los Angeles Rams fall to 1-4 after the loss to these Green Bay Packers. So, Jake, I know this team's been ravished by injuries. They've been in the majority of all of these games. They've had their chances, this one included, but they found themselves on the losing end yet again. You mentioned the bye week coming up, which is going to be critical for this team with the injuries. But as it stands right now, 1-4 at the bottom of the division. Your overall takeaway from what you saw against Green Bay?
I saw some good things. Kyron Williams' best game of the year. The fumble sucks. That it just does, but he played really well. I will say Stafford didn't look all that great. Now, to be fair, there was a guard who was playing left guard. I think this was his 3rd start, Logan Bruss, who gave up 7 pressures. So Stafford was kind of running for his life in this one. Jordan Whittington continues to show that, this guy's a legit player in this league. Another, game where he led the team in receptions. He had 10 targets. He had 89 yards, led the team in receiving yards. Actually, one could argue him going down at the end of the game really kind of screwed their game-winning drive, if you will, because he goes to the locker room and then they're relying on Colby Parkinson over the middle, which that's on them, in my opinion. I just don't know why they're doing that. He had 13 targets in this game. But I think if you want to look at, the good things about the Rams and the bad things, I think the good thing is, in this game, you got some of those key contributors that, took another step. Like we saw Jordan Whittington, and I mentioned Kyron. Those guys took a step. I think on the defensive side, great play out of Kobe Turner, Great play out of Byron Young, right? Forcing the very awkward pick 6 of, Jordan Love. And you saw they weren't afraid to change things on the defensive side. I mentioned that earlier. Now Akello Witherspoon's playing. Tre'Davious White, I've been blue in the face on this show telling you guys Tre'Davious White is a problem. They're scheming around him to kind of hide him from getting exposed, even though he's already given up 4 touchdowns in 4 games. Healthy scratch. So now you get Darius Williams back. You have Akello Witherspoon. Aside from one big miscommunication down the field to Jaden Reed, I thought the secondary looked very good. They sat down 3rd-round rookie Cameron Kinchins in favor of UDFA Jalen McCullough. That worked out. McCullough came away with a pick 6 in this one, played at a high level. I think really what it comes down to is that this team gets to the red zone as much as anybody. can't score in the red zone, very similar to the 49ers, which is killing them. And in addition to that, this team does not have linebackers. Right now, the two starting linebackers, Christian Roseboom and Troy Reeder, right after I said that they had a great game week 1, have not ever played a snap on the level that they did week 1 since. So the hope is at the bye week, they have 2 young guys that I think they need to give them a shot. Omar Spates, the talented UDFA at LSU, and Jake Hummel, who's a UDFA from Iowa State a few years back, probably the best coverage linebacker on the team. I think right now you can take away, they did a nice job against the run. They held Josh Jacobs in check. I didn't think Jordan Love looked all that great. My biggest concern about this game, and the reason they lost this game, it wasn't because of the refs, wasn't because of the injuries, it was because they stopped blitzing Jordan Love in the third quarter for God knows why. Jordan Love was abysmal when the Rams blitzed. And by the way, the Rams were able to show more blitzes, exotic blitzes, because they had the secondary finally for the first time all year that they trusted. This is why I was saying it was such a big deal. So they blitzed Jordan Love. Good things happened. They stopped in the third quarter. Well, that's when Green Bay scored 14. The Rams scored 0. They started again the fourth quarter. Green Bay was shut out. They had a drive that went, I think, for like 8 minutes and stalled out at the 50, and they punted it away. So it's frustrating. There were many opportunities, just like the Chicago game. They had to win this game. But end of the day, I think there are some good things to take away. I'm always going to look at things like that, because if I just sit here and tell you everything's bad and don't give credit to things that are good, then what am I doing really? So it's tough right now for Rams fans, but the next 5 games, you got the Raiders, you got the Vikings. That's going to be a tougher game. You got Seattle. Then you got the Dolphins and the Patriots. So I think 3 out of those 5 games, you could say they're on the easier side. Obviously, Seattle and Minnesota, we'll see. But it is a little bit easier because the first 5 games, keep in mind, they had to play the 49ers, the Packers, and of course, they had to play the Lions. That was a tough start. So we'll see what they can do. But right now, do I feel great about this team? Do I feel like they're going to come back? Do I think that I'm not saying any of that because I don't feel any certain way. I feel like I just want to see them go out there and show us. But last year, they started 3-6. They won 7 of the last 8. It's possible. So I'm not going to say they can't do it.
SoCal Ram thinks that the solution could be the newly unemployed Robert Saleh. SoCal Ram 88 saying, Saleh, please, to the Rams, not Niners. Fire Shule. That's interesting.
No, he's going to the Niners. He's going to be on that Niners sideline in weeks. I guarantee, mark my words. You're going to see Saleh down there with that big old bald head standing right next to Shanahan as a consultant.
Right. Well, that's how he got his job in the first place. But it's interesting how he has not even been unemployed for, I think, 10 hours now. And we already have fan bases clamoring for him. That was the interesting part about it. Robert Saleh, his side of the ball, things were looking good. We know head coaching wise, not the best, but defensively, Robert Saleh can coach up a defense.
Rams fans want him like crazy. So I guess they forgot that he fired Mike LaFleur. So it's not as simple as just doing that because Mike LaFleur is their OC. So it's not, I don't know.
It's not black and white. None of it is. I
mean, it never is.
Yeah, unless you're running the New York Jets, then it's just, it's Robert Saleh's fault, and Aaron Rodgers will come back to being an MVP this coming week because of it. I don't know.
There you go.
He's saying that wasn't a great effort, but still had a chance at the end. I think if Jay Witt didn't get injured on that catch, they probably steal that win. Parkinson, not great 4th down target, which is surprising. Your thoughts on that, Jake?
Well, he's not a great 4th down target. He has 31 targets this year, and he's only caught 19. I just don't. I like the guy, but let's be honest here. They gave him a contract hoping that's what he would be. That's not who he is. And I've interviewed him. I like the guy. I hate throwing, strays at him, but yeah, they need Higbee right now. I don't know why Davis Allen isn't playing. I think one of the big reasons why they're struggling in the red zone is actually the lack of tight end. I think if they had obviously a tight end like George Kittle, they'd be in good shape. But I mean, even having a guy like Kyle Pitts, who, a lot of Rams fans have secretly been hoping, the lack of usage, they could go out because he just fits what they're looking for. they wanted Brock Bowers. I can tell you that without a doubt. They tried to trade up multiple times with multiple teams in the top 10, and no team would budge, including the Falcons, who stayed and picked Penix. So they were really bummed about that. But I get it, because Brock Bowers is leading all tight ends in yards. But yeah, I think right now Colby Parkinson's been a disappointment.
Interesting
so right now. Go ahead,
real
Brandon.
quick on that, just to get back to you, Jake. Interesting too on that with both the Brock Bowers lack of trade up, because you saw the behind the scenes with McVay and them talk, and the general manager. They gave you some behind the curtain stuff on that. That was really interesting. Interesting to see a little. Well, but it was weird a little bit on the interaction with it, where you're seeing maybe a little bit of an evolution from the general manager for the Rams now, where F them picks a couple of years ago literally has it like on a coffee cup or a t-shirt made, where he's just throwing first rounders out the gate. And I almost got the feeling of when they're having that behind the scenes thing this year with that, of like McVay's over there like, and he's going, no. But, McVay wanted, I think on both cases, both those guys pretty heartily. And he was still kind of going, no, we're not going to panic. We're going to hold. I wonder if some of that's a bit of an offset of losing all those picks from all those years starting to kind of spill over for him a little bit.
So the Rams
they liked draft in the first round this year. So we'll see. They did kind of suffice that whole thing, or scratch the itch of Sean McVay. They were like, you need to go out and get Braden Fisk. This has to happen. Just make it work. And so they call up, I think it was Carolina, and they're like, hey, we'll give you next year's second. We're moving up 12 spots. And they knew that they gave up a little bit more than maybe they would have had to, but they just wanted to get the thing done. So they were very excited about that. But yeah, it's really interesting. I know players that they've been interested in the past, and it's caused like a little bit of a mix up. It's not on the level of Jeff Fisher, where I don't know if you guys remember Dorial Green Beckham. It was Blackman, Justin Blackman. And Fisher wanted him so badly, he slammed his glass and broke it in the war room. So I don't know why I always found that kind of funny.
So the question being posed right now by Freddie, as the Rams sit at 1-4 at the bottom of the division, he's wondering, is there a real chance for the Rams to be competitive? So real quick, Mike, I'll start with you. They are 1-4 going into the bye, hoping to get healthy here and turn things around. Do you think there's a chance the Rams can find themselves being competitive as the season moves on here?
I'm actually glad they asked this, because I actually wanted to ask Jake about this, but there is a chance. I mean, obviously with the Raiders, that is got to be the game that, if there has some sort of be like a must-win game, because even if you just have one win, it kind of creates a snowball effect. So like if they somehow lose to that Raiders, and they got the Vikings currently rolling like they are, and then they got a division matchup, it all starts with next week. So I think it's possible, especially because of how tight this division is. Like one win can skyrocket to number 2, especially if everybody else fails. So I say it's still open, but you got to take care of the Raiders, because if you don't, man, dead in the water.
Jesse, your thoughts?
Oh yeah, Brandon and I talked about this earlier today on our Behind Enemy Lines show. They're essentially, if the 49ers can beat Seattle, they're one game back in the loss column from being right there with everybody. And coming off of a bye week, the bye week couldn't have come at a better time, in my opinion. Jake can better answer this, but I got to imagine some people are coming back that have been hurt. And if they get one of those guys back for the Raiders, and then a couple more maybe on that, I think they play Thursday night against the Vikings. Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's still a chance for them. We saw this team fight back last year after an abysmal start. And at least their excuse, in my opinion, a lot of it is injuries, and they're getting those players back. And it is interesting to me, because I know that when the Rams have lost, I've seen this chat go, oh, you can't talk about injuries. But now I'm seeing Seattle Seahawks fans talk about how injured they are. I've seen 49ers fans do it. Like, it's not an excuse per se. It is a reality to the situation. But when your team is banged up and you know that you have the talent to compete and you're losing games you shouldn't, it's a real thing. And I think it's something that you can honestly talk about. Now, other fan bases hate when you use it as an excuse, but the reality is if we just all look at our teams right now across this division, there's at least one game that you can point to and be like, yeah, that team lost because they were injured. I think for Seattle, That was last week versus the Giants. I think for the Rams, yeah, pick your game. You know what I mean? It could have been any of them. I think for us, possibly the Vikings. And, I think even the Cardinals, you were without your tight end, who was clearly a big-time weapon. You had just lost an offensive lineman, couple injuries on defense, and you go and get housed at home against the Washington Commanders. So, yeah, I mean, I think injuries are a real thing. And if they can get healthy, I think that team can compete. And I think money-wise, we saw the odds with their 1,600, 1,900. If I had $100 and I had to put it on any team, I would put it on the Rams team because those odds are insanely good in my opinion. Now, if I'm just betting straight up, I wouldn't pick the Rams to win the division, but for those odds, yeah, I would do it.
Brandon, how about you? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think Jesse's points and the rest are right on line with this, where it's about getting healthier. I think in the case of the Rams, Cardinals got a couple injuries, but it seems like a little bit right now. 49ers, Rams, and Seahawks were kind of the most injured when it's all said and done. And that it's going to cause some rough roads here, early part to get to the point at the end of the year. But the hope here has got to be not necessarily you're seeking out the first round bye here from the NFC West perspective, but that you can get to the division, get the division title, and then be at your healthiest, combined with playing at your best at that point in time in the season, which we know from a historical perspective is a lot of what can drive playoff success at that point. So it's the outlook we all have to have, where when you come into a season, you kind of, I think, want to be looking down the crosshairs of that first round bye. If you can get everything working right and really, hey, let's get to 12, 13 wins. Let's get that first round bye where there's only one in each conference now. But I think that's looking less, but everybody's in play. And the Rams are just as dangerous as ever because those aren't season-ending injuries. Some of it I would say is going to be, how healthy is Pookie when he gets back? How healthy is Cooper? I mean, those are really the two key pivot points for me because they need those reinforcements right now. As good as Whittington's played, those are the things that need to come in because then Stafford's got his security blankets and he'll feel warm and fuzzy at night when he goes to bed.
Ramelia feels like the number one spot's being kept warm for these Rams. He's saying the Cards keeping the Rams number one spot warm. I think Seahawks are keeping the number one spot warm right now, but we could see what happens after the end of this upcoming week. Seahawks can join LA and Arizona beating Niners first game. Purdy regressing a year early. Rams, like we were just talking about, getting key players back after the bye week. So I think Ramelia might have a couple bucks on that plus 1,600. He's not feeling the sweat at all about these Rams.
Who is coming back, by the way? Just Jake, out of curiosity, like who do you expect back after the bye week?
So I expect
and
back
actually, let's go one further after the Raiders game, because I think they can beat the Raiders regardless. They're a dumpster fire. So after the Raiders game, heading into that Thursday night showdown with the Vikings, I think you guys play on Thursday. Who should be back that has not been playing?
Well, I think Cooper Kupp is definitely back. The optimistic thing was week 7. Sean McVay said that. I do think Cooper Kupp will be back for week 7, but if he's not, he'll be back for week 8. I think Puka's back for the Seahawks game, so I don't think he'll be back for the Vikings game. I think it'll be one of, maybe both, but likely one of Jonah Jackson and Steve Avila for the week 8 game. And then I think John Johnson, it's going to be a while for him. I think Noteboom as well could be back for that week 8 game. So the Rams should expect most of the players that are injured, except I know nothing about Tyler Higbee. No idea. There's been no update on him. But everyone except for Tyler Higbee, Puka Nacua, and John Johnson should be back by week 9.
SoCal,
I would say week 8, excuse me. Week 8.
Well, he's feeling SoCal's thinking if Seahawks can get the job done against the Niners, like you had mentioned, Jesse, then this division really starts to tighten up. And as you guys were just alluding to, the Rams start getting players back if they're able to get that W over the Raiders and build on that. I mean, this division is awfully intriguing. I wanted to get to one of the super chats that kind of touches on this because Dave's asking here, is the NFC West the worst division right now? I certainly don't think it's the worst, but
AFC East.
It's the best of a bad situation right now. These teams are all good. It's just depending on whether they get healthier when they turn things around. But you guys don't think it's the worst right now, do you?
No, I think the
AFC
Cardinals,
East.
we started off with a really tough schedule, like really, really tough. The Bills, the Lions, 49ers, the Rams. We started pretty tough. And I think we can all attribute that the Lions probably have gotten one on you guys as well. So like, I think it's just a testament of obviously the season starting. I think we're going to get right here, maybe towards the later part of the season. I have no problem. This is going to be a good division still.
Actually, and the Commanders, dude, are you kidding me? That's a gauntlet. That is a gauntlet to start. You said, what was the start again? The Bills, the Rams, the 49ers.
So no, it's actually, the Bills, Bills, Rams, Lions, Commanders, and then 49ers.
That's a gauntlet.
Oh
I'm
my
sorry.
God.
Two of those. Hey, I'll take it.
Especially the way the Commanders look. I mean, nobody saw that coming. My God, it's wild right now. It's kind of like a topsy-turvy league right now. It just feels like it's completely tipped upside down. You wonder how long it lasts. Speaking of Dave here, by the way, Dave's going on a tangent. He wants Lyle fired. Any player can make a play unless Lyle is coaching. Blame the O-line, fire Lyle, 7-10 this year. Hashtag fire Lyle. Who's got anything on that?
It's Kyle with an L because
I was wondering, like, who the hell is this Lyle guy?
It's like the fake Paul fall.
Yeah.
I can't even lie to you guys. I was on the background Googling Lyle. I never heard of this guy.
It took me a sec too.
I had a feeling that's where they were going.
Niner fans got like 5 offshoots of that, by the way, with Shanahan.
Hold on. I'm going to throw a stat. I'm going to throw a stat out there for you guys. And maybe some of you saw this stat floating around where Kyle Shanahan now ranks first in a bad way in 49ers coaching history with 18 losses when his team has been up at least 10 at any point in the game. Second most is Bill Walsh at 8. And we know how long he coached for. But do you know who is number 1 all time on that list? Not 49ers, but all time on that list.
Oh my gosh. I could take a guess on that.
Dad. His dad is number 1. They both do it.
Wow.
His dad has 33 of them. Come on, man.
Jesse, do you think it's the narrative that I constantly hear where if his script kind of goes awry, he can't operate on the fly? Is that why you feel like it could be his dad as well? It's the same mindset.
I honestly don't know. I have never seen Mike going into this game. Do you remember when we did our behind enemy lines? Yep. What I told you the key was for the 49ers winning? What did they have to do?
I don't
what did the Cardinals not they had to run the ball because the Cardinals give up 146 yards a game rushing.
Yeah.
They ran it 14 times with Jordan Mason. Like what? Your offense is predicated on the run. You've got teams in front of you that can't stop the run, and Kyle's like, YOLO, 5 wide, we're throwing the ball all over the yard. Like, what are you doing, man? What? It makes no sense. And he chooses to abandon the run in the most crucial moments of games. It blows my mind. I don't understand. What is the deal? Like, and where did they get it from? They probably got it from their mentor, which is Kyle's dad, is probably where they got it from.
Yeah. It's frustrating. It's funny because that whole McVay, Shanahan, that whole tree, everyone connected to them abandons the run, if you really look at it. So
I will say that it's in some of that West Coast heart too that's there in it, because this was a homegrown problem for us back in the day when Mike was here running the same, an iteration of the offense, West Coast in its origins, but coming off Bill Walsh. And that is that they want to throw to set up the run kind of inherently in the spine, I think, of their philosophy. So within that, there is always kind of a natural pull to pass. And then when you get into knowing running situations, you could make the argument that they kind of overthink it, because Mike was also famous here for kind of blowing leads as well, in addition to this, when he was here a bit at times. So they'd get out ahead, and then you get the third quarter and stuff would just get weird.
Beating more Seahawks. He's saying we're going to see round 3 versus Metcalf and Warner, referring to, I believe, the Thursday night game, which Eric is also referring to here. And Eric's willing to throw some money around. He's saying if the Hawks win this Thursday, I'll donate $100 to any charity Brandon denotes.
I like this. Let's
Interlude.
Go.
Awesome. What do you think about that, Brandon?
It's going to be about the children, man. We'll make it about the children.
You get to pick the charity.
I'll be making it about the children today.
If K9 has less than 15, rushes less than 15 times. Okay. All right.
Wow. So if we win or lose and rush K9 less than 15 times, Jesse gets to pick the charity of choice. Eric, I like that. A little stake in the game.
This is awesome. I love this, Eric. This is awesome. Kudos to you.
Go, Eric.
Kudos to you.
Let's go, Eric. I love that.
We
Love
got
it.
I like that as well.
We got a bunch of super chats coming in from Garth Knight. Hey, props to Kyler and Coach Gannon. Big props to the Arizona Cardinals. We can't let them forget it, Mike. We can't let them forget it. The sole winner this past weekend. Garth reminded us. He's saying, by the way,
crazy hard.
All praise to Arizona for the moment, but they are the Raiders of the NFC West, so they'll lose to the likes of the Panthers.
My God.
Damn.
So he starts you off with praise be, and then he does that.
Slaps.
Rope you in.
Well, fellas, he doubled down on it. Garth sends in a second. He said, fellas, I think the Cards are the Raiders of the NFC West again. Who would you rather the other AFC to NFC West comparisons be? LaFleur was fired for Aaron's boy. Garth was so sure of that, Mike. He sent it in twice.
Wow.
Do you think you're the Raiders of the NFC West?
No, I mean, I know we get a bad rep because obviously we just don't have consistency. I mean, I think we believe in what Jonathan Gannon can do. We've seen this team fight hard, even in last year as well. So you can call it what you will. I think the narrative will go away once the Cardinals start winning a little bit more. And no, I don't.
Can I ask a quick question though on this, just to Garth's point? Because Jake was bringing this up earlier about the Jets ownership, and I think we're all believers in here that you can have a great team. It's got to start with great ownership.
Yep.
And when it does come to the Cardinals ownership, and they do those little polls every year for the players behind the scenes, and it comes back and the food's crap and the facilities suck. And I'm tired of flying on Spirit Airlines, and can we please not have chickens in there when we're flying around? It's something you hear a little bit. So I do wonder, Mike, from your perspective, do you feel like this owner's one who's doing everything he possibly can? And I'm talking about not, just spending salary cap wise, but the behind the scenes stuff to make sure he's putting your team in that position to win. I think that's a little bit inherently what's in there to a degree in what Garth's saying.
By the way, feed me more Seahawks to your point, Brandon. He's pretty much doubling down on what you're saying. He's got no faith in this ownership at all for Arizona.
And then there's somebody that's like, shut your mouth about Bidwell.
That's funny. I mean, with Bidwell, to me, I always kind of felt like he wasn't the best owner, but this is one of the first times that we've seen him actually say, I'm hands off. I'm going to allow Monty Ossenfort to do what he does. Now, obviously, we're seeing it only in year 2 right now. But like I said, all we can really do is have faith. I'm not the biggest fan of the Bidwell family. It's just, obviously, I would rather have a owner here in Arizona because we have a team. And I just want to see what he does with Monty. But yeah, we all know that it was a big debacle. Everything in the culture with Steve Keim and all these crazy things in Mexico that happened. It was all nuts. Like, it needed to get clean house. And with this new regime, Bidwell says, I have my hands off. It's all Monty, and I'm trusting the process, and we're going to see what happens here with Monty and Jonathan Gannon.
Like you said, Brandon, great team equals great ownership, and Mike, you're willing to wait it out. So I appreciate that. By the way, speaking of appreciation, Garth, I appreciate you putting Shanahan after Lyle, so I don't look like an idiot back here Googling who the hell Lyle is. Garth saying Lyle Shanahan is a bastard son of Mike Shanahan, a la Game of Thrones. Lyle is a great coach in Canada. King of the North, man. Garth is dropping bombs tonight.
Good Lord.
We're going to keep rolling through your super chats here before we close up shop. I like this one from Daza. Interesting question. Through 5 weeks, because we talked about earlier, it's funny the difference between these two super chats. Earlier, we talked about, is this the worst division, perhaps? Daza's wondering, through 5 weeks, does anyone feel like one of these teams in the division is going to make an NFC championship, let alone a Super Bowl?
It's two questions, right? It's like where they are right now and where we could all feasibly get to, because there's the dreaming large of something that's not likely to happen. But as Jake or as Jesse says, or Cardinals are a coming together thing. You got some injuries too, but you're kind of more about coming together there. But nobody's in their final form. And I think if you say with what you got on paper still with these teams, that's certainly on paper, all of them are still possible of doing that. Nobody's got any horrible season-ending injury of a litany that's going to be out for the full year, and there's no reason to believe that they've got hope now as it's starting to kind of slowly dwindle away. Instead, it's all due to probably get stronger. So yeah, I think now, no, but by the end of the year, there's going to be a couple teams, I think, that rise out of this that are certainly going to be capable.
Mike, your thoughts?
You're muted.
It's muted.
I hear you, Mike. No doubt about it.
Wow, here we go. Right, my bad. No, I mean it's really too early to tell. I mean, I can only speak for myself. I know there's some Super Bowl aspirations for like the 49ers, and I know some Seahawks fans feel like they can make a playoff run. To us, we're just trying to make it. We're talking about progress right now. So for me specifically, I can't really think Super Bowl, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I just want to see progress. That's all what I'm looking for.
I mean, Jesse, you got to feel. I mean, it's basically routine to get at least to the semifinal here. You can't be down enough to think that these Niners don't have a chance to run the playoff gamut.
You roll out of bed and fall into the title game.
I do. I think that there's a path for. At this point, it feels like whoever wins the division is making the playoffs, and outside of that, I don't know if anybody else will. So this division is going to become very important. But I think whoever wins this division certainly could make it to the NFC Championship. I don't think the Super Bowl. I know that there's some people on the panel that aren't fans of this team, but I still think the Lions right now are doing what the 49ers did a year ago, or maybe it was 2 years ago. I can't remember. That every time that you play the Lions, the next week you lose. They are bullies right now. And the 49ers did this very same thing a year or two ago themselves. Literally all 17 games that they played after you played the 49ers, every team lost the next week because they just beat you up. And that's what the Lions are doing to teams right now. And I still think that they're the best team in the NFC. I will see they got a game with Minnesota coming up soon. That's going to be really fun to watch. I think Minnesota is also legit, although I can't really buy Sam Darnold. I think he's just not that good. I love the story, but maybe that team is good enough to get there around them. But I really feel like someone out of the NFC North is going to make a Super Bowl this year, and I'll even throw the Packers in there as a possibility.
Dave doesn't even care, by the way, if your Niners get there, because he says, what does Lyle do in the Super Bowl? 2 L's, Lyle, Levi, and he lies. So he doesn't even care.
And
Jake,
he lies.
I know, just in case you didn't notice with the Lyle, we have to clarify with the original spelling. Now we're getting the context clues. Jake, what do you think? Do you think one of these teams can wind up making a run here? I mean, it feels like the talent's there. It's just got to come together.
Yeah, I think whoever wins the NFC West will go to the NFC title game. That's full stop. So I do. And I think the reason, Mike kind of alluded to it, these teams are battle tested. I mean, they're playing, tough opponents, and they're already kind of beaten up on each other. And you look at some of these other teams and you're like, who the hell has this team played? And they're 4-1 or 3-2 or whatever. And I do think that's going to benefit. Plus, I would say, as far as the 49ers Rams are concerned, you have that pedigree. So I think that matters. But in addition to that, I said it going into the season, I think all 4 teams are talented. I had the Cardinals winning 7 games, but what I've seen in a small sample size, it shows that, hey, this team can be competitive down the stretch. And then the Seahawks, I mean, this is a rookie head coach. Say what you will, it's a bad loss to the Giants, fine. But, he's still learning. They're 3-2 while he's still learning. That's not bad. And then the 49ers, it's like 49ers and Rams are both kind of in the same position right now, both banged up. Both, I know some 49er fans, maybe Jesse would probably not, use injuries as an excuse, but I do think both teams are banged up and, they have players where, if they get healthy, they can be a problem. But the more important thing here is that these teams, despite excuses and what have you, they're continuing to be competitive. So when we had that, that question, that super chat, hey, can the Rams be they already are competitive. I understood what they meant, but that's actually kind of an idea, at least I have, about the NFC West right now, is that all of these teams have shown that they can be competitive. They have what it takes to win football games. They have weapons. They have a defense. They have, guys that can make, big time turnovers, and they have smart coaches. So yeah, I know it sounds crazy, but I just feel like whoever wins this division is going to go to the NFC title game.
Keith and Mike are not as optimistic. Last 2 weeks, one NFC West team gets to win. Who will it be this week? Worst conference in football. So as we talk about a potential Super Bowl run,
well, you would think it would come down to the Thursday night game if only one wins. Rams are on a bye, so that actually is a real possibility. And the Thursday night teams, one of them has to win. I guess you could tie. But I want to address somebody in the chat, Nubilax. I think you're misunderstanding what we were saying, or at least what I was saying. Let me clarify. I'm not saying that the Lions look better than the Vikings. The Vikings look very good. In fact, I've been standing up for them for 2 weeks saying that I think they're legit. Their defense is for real. People have got to take notice. You look at the quarterbacks that they've beaten. They've made them look pedestrian. That doesn't mean, though, that I think they are going to end the season as the better team entering the playoffs than the Lions. I think the Lions are a little bit more proven. They have an offensive line. They can run the ball with a two-headed monster. And I just think that ultimately they'll be the better team when it's all said and done. Now, I also said that I think whoever it is, whether it's the Packers, the Vikings, or the Lions, I could see any three of those teams, one of those teams, come out of the NFC completely. Maybe not the Packers as much, but I'll go with an NFC North team to represent the NFC right now over an NFC West team. So
Mike Hyde, he doesn't think it's going to be Arizona representing. He says, yo, Arizona, what's emptier than a desert in Arizona? The Arizona Cardinals trophy case. Man.
Ooh.
He thought he was thinking about that one all show, Mike.
Right.
He had the full hour to think, and he delivered. He delivered. Cryptic coming in. Because we've seen Saleh go after expectations from a bad organization. Is Kyle Shanahan on the parting ways if he misses the playoffs? Is this like Harbaugh last season? Jesse, real quick, I'll let you go on that because, I mean, man, as much success as Kyle Shanahan has had, that seems like a tough one to argue.
Well, I mean, if I didn't see the question in whole, but if Shanahan doesn't make the playoffs, I think that there's a possibility that this thing comes to an end. I mean, he's been here for, this is his 8th season, believe it or not. You know, Shanahan is no longer the young, sharp-minded coach. He's right at league average as far as his age goes. He's been here for 8 years. At some point, like, you got to break through. This is your last best chance. And I don't necessarily think it's going to happen. I think that they'll make the playoffs, and you know, when they lose, we'll find out. But if they don't make the playoffs, I think that you got to really look at this hard and have a real conversation here. Like, this team was way too talented for you to not even make the playoffs. I think that you got to have a conversation.
Radu saying, what up? Radu, what up, brother? What's happening? How you doing, my man? Appreciate the super chat. Dave saying, not one Super Bowl under York. Bring back Eddie D.
I wish.
Maybe that could be the replacement for you, Jesse. If Kyle
yeah. Well, the new ownership is Eddie DeBartolo. Perfect. We'll just hand the whole team back over. Let's do that, please.
Well, I was just gonna say, if you could fire Shanahan, just go ahead and completely flip the whole organization around and just go nuts and bring in a whole new ownership, new management, new everything. And then maybe you'll, you know, it kills me though. It's like the success that the Niners have had, and yet it's the moments where they're just starting to show they might not be as successful as in years past, and it's like, just get rid of everybody. Garth saying,
dude, it's the older fans. Listen, for those of us that were around for the glory days, like it's just not acceptable. The younger fan base hasn't seen a Super Bowl, so I get it. They're like, oh, I mean, at least we're in the playoffs every year. You should be happy. It's like, no, I shouldn't.
I know.
Nah.
Garth is asking you, Jake, are the Rams the Lannisters? Am I saying that right? The Lannisters of the NFC West?
I mean, I don't know what that means. Like I'm a
in the
Game of Thrones
book,
guy.
Right.
Yeah, the Lannisters are they're the rich family of the royal house family. So they're you know, it's like they're like barons or whatever of the books, not actual royalty, but they're the ones who have the coffers of the money. So
but they don't win in the end, or do they? I don't know.
Well, they started, not necessarily, nobody really wins. Does anyone win at the end of Game of Thrones? Probably no, not on that front. But I think that's the connection he's probably making, is they're known for their gold.
Garth, I'm going to need like a Sopranos or Breaking Bad reference next time, because I'm sitting here and I'm like, what in the hell is a Lannister? I've never done the Game of Thrones. I couldn't get into it.
Oh, you got to watch Game of Thrones.
Everyone says it, Jake.
Well, at least till season 5, right, Jake? To season 5, then you probably
watch until season 5. Then you have permission to back off. Although I love the whole show, didn't love the ending, but I think it's the greatest show of all time, despite how bad the ending is.
The problem is that I feel like you need to carve out 3 months and take off 3 months of work to watch it. That's what everybody tells me.
Oh, then I shouldn't tell you what I did, because I watched it in a week.
Oh, wow.
That's what'll happen. That's the problem, is it'll bring you in like that. You're like, they made a show like this and it sucks you in like that, or you can't turn it off. So
yeah, like you're sitting there and you're like, you got the shakes and you haven't eaten, you haven't slept, and you're like, oh crap. You just forget. Like, you get lost in this like world. So yeah, Game of Thrones is great. Highly
All right,
recommend.
well, Jake, you sold me. I'm going to take a week off of everything, so I won't see you guys next week, and I'm going to dive into Game of Thrones, and then we'll see what happens with the NFL after that. I'll look into it after I finish the series. Mo Maggot, he's wondering from Brandon and Jesse, over under on the flags on Thursday night?
They're ruining some of these games with these penalties. It's
Let them
insane.
play. Let them play. This is going to be two physical teams in a division rivalry going at it this Thursday. It's not going to be patty cake out there. These guys aren't out there to dance. Let them get after it. And I don't know if any of you. I was talking to Jesse about this earlier, but I've been seeing some of this stuff show up to these players now during the week. If you notice it from some of your guys, where the NFLs are throwing some insane fines for very rudimentary style hits, not even dirty hits, not even bad hits, and it's like, boy, you go on top of the flags and that too. It's like, man. Oh, can we just let these guys play football sometimes? Let them go. It's going to be, it's just gotten dumb. I mean, our guy lost 50,000 on a play that was like, he didn't put his head into it. He's out blocking a guy in space. The guy saw him coming, doesn't put his head into it. What part of it deserved 50,000? A whole check basically gone for that one hit.
Who's playing Kansas City next week?
They're on a bye week.
No, I mean after.
Oh, we are. Yeah, thanks.
Oh, okay. So yeah, one of your guys is guaranteed to get suspended in this one.
You also have to factor in with the flags. The more flags there are, the more likely that Al Michaels is going to have an absolute episode or fall asleep. So there better not be too many flags on Thursday Night Football. He called it out in the Dallas.
He always does. He's tired of it.
I love this old Al. He doesn't give a shit. He just says whatever comes to his mind. He does not care.
There's no rhyme or reason to it too. It's so arbitrary, and the officials that call it and how they call it over a game. You can't ever figure out what is how are you guys calling it today? How is it called all the way down the line? It always is this like changing scale, almost quarter to quarter at times, in the way that they'll look at it. It doesn't make any sense.
It feels predetermined, Brandon. Like they already we have a quota we have to hit, and then you watch throughout the game and you're like, oh yeah, they're really like dogging on that one team because the other team is committing those penalties and they're not calling them. And then, hey, don't speak too soon. Second half, now they're calling on the other team. Yeah. I feel like, and they would never obviously say it, but I feel like it is quota based. Like I do feel like they have to throw X amount of flags. I really believe that because I've seen it. And it's sometimes you get like the BS one. They threw 3 on the 49ers, that one play against the Rams. And I don't know. I feel like it's just like a quota. I've watched it for so long, and that's the only thing I can really come up with. I don't think it's rigged or anything like that. So watch it, comment section. That's not what I'm saying. But I do think that like they have to throw the flag. Like I think that the league almost mandates them to have to be active throwing flags. I think that.
Corey coming in. Banger super chat. For a banger show. He's saying Breaking Bad was way better than Game of Thrones. I can't speak for Game of Thrones, but I've watched Breaking Bad 3 times, so I guess I could just tell you how much I love Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul.
I didn't finish it, but there's nothing better than Game of Thrones. Nothing.
Breaking Bad is good, but the wife, man. The wife.
Oh, yeah,
but you gotta have somebody to root against. That's the thing. You gotta have.
Oh my gosh! You just
watch Ozark too. That's another one.
Ozark, I've heard good things about. I'm watching The Penguin right now.
Succession, too, as well.
I've heard
Succession. That's like modern day Game of Thrones.
The problem is with all these great shows, they're all over an hour. Like I've done The Wire, Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, and it's a lot. You got to really put it on, Speaking of references, Feed Me More Seahawks is saying Kyle Shanahan is like Mufasa from The Lion King. What do you think about that, Jesse?
He just dies? Doesn't he die? Is that because he said, I don't know who's going to be alive on Sunday? Is that what's going on? What's going on here?
Yeah.
We've gone from fire him to kill him? Like, what are you Scar?
I don't know.
Oh, God. No, that's a better question. Who is Scar?
Yeah, who would be Scar at that point? Unfortunate.
Jordan, he's a big Game of Thrones fan. Or no, he's not. He's saying Game of Thrones is highly overrated, man. I love this. I love this channel because when we get on something, man, the passion comes out. 1 week it's Geno Smith. This week it's Game of Thrones. We'll see. And it's also Kyle Shanahan this week too. He's been the main topic of conversation, or should I say, Lyle Shanahan, as 808-9er is saying, Lyle is going nowhere. The organization lives on almost and what ifs. Jed is a loser. And that's why he loves Lyle Banana Hands keeps us wanting more. It's all a conspiracy, Jesse. Kyle Shanahan is there to keep the ratings up so that you keep coming back on the wheel, biting after that cheese. That's what 808 Niners. I think that's what he's saying.
Does he like Lyle more than he like Trent Baalke? I need to know.
Star to the Mufasa. Could that be the reference we're looking for?
Maybe.
Oh man.
501st Legion. Lions, Bears, and Packers. Do the Rams get swept by the North? Oh, that's interesting. Well, they've already lost to the Lions, right? Lost to the Packers. So do you foresee a loss to the Bears, Jake?
Well, no, they lost to the Bears, so it'd be the Vikings.
Vikings are all that's left.
Oh, they are. Oh, my bad.
I'm gonna say this: the Rams are gonna beat the Raiders. They're gonna go to 2-4, and then they're gonna beat the Vikings because of what Jesse said, because they played the Lions the week before.
There you go.
So 3-4 headed to Seattle. 3-4 headed to Seattle with a chance to get back to 500. Y'all don't want to see that.
Dave, no, I don't. $2 super chat to say, read my $10 super chat. Damn it. Your wish is my command, Dave. Let's get to it.
Arizona's like John Cena.
I don't know what's going on. Every time I look down, it's something I can't comprehend. I think I can comprehend this one. Dave's saying, okay, imagine this. A guy that is a genius and has some really great people around him. They build and buy an all-pro team on nearly all levels, and everyone else is weak, and you get drunk and poop your pants. So Jesse, now we got – so Kyle Shanahan is now – he's pooped his pants. He is Mufasa, was it? He's Lyle. He's Levi Lyle. He lies.
Lion Lyle.
Yeah, he's Lion Lyle. He can't win a Super Bowl. He's going to get fired.
I don't treat animals.
Rough night for Kyle Shanahan. At least when we were talking about Geno Smith that one, and everybody was coming out to defend Geno Smith. Everybody's coming out tonight to just crap on Kyle Shanahan. Like you just said, Jay, I don't know what's going on with this one. Arizona is like John Cena. You can't really see Mike right now either with the shades. It's a perfect analogy.
Oh, good Lord.
And Garth's going to round us out for the night. I feel like we're doing a comedy special on the last 15 minutes here, but Garth's going to bring us back to earth a bit. He's saying, all right, gang, what's the biggest traveling fan base you've seen show to your own stadium? I think, Jesse, you were a part of it. The Niners literally took over SoFi a couple weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I mean, the Niners travel really well.
I think that probably just
Steelers travel well, and so do the Packers.
I think that the Bills definitely travel well, as I just know from my experience. But what I saw in that, the thing is, I feel like it's the location. When you have like the Raiders location, these destinations everybody wants to go to, SoFi, a great example as well. It's like you get all these fan bases that not only travel well, but they want to go to these spots and check these stadiums out. And then you look at like that Niners game, and it was a sea of red in that stadium.
Everybody's saying Pittsburgh, but we took over. I was just there week 1 last year, and those Steeler fans were like, "Kudos to you guys. We've never had our stadium taken over like this."
Yeah,
808's getting one last dig in. He's getting one last dig in at Kyle or Lyle. They are both trash. Lyle gave us 2 epic losses, though. Man.
This is like the end of the Return of the Jedi, and they're all like just like partying and everything. And this is like the death of Kyle Shanahan. Like everyone's like just singing Kumbaya over it. Even 49ers fans in the comment section. I've never seen anything like this ever. This is why
they're adding some gasoline. They're like, no, guys, here's some gas. It's a good fire, but you guys could get that thing even hotter if you just throw this on.
Well, how hot will
the music playing?
How hot will it be if he loses on Thursday night? Right now on BetUS, the Niners are a 3.5-point favorite against the Seattle Seahawks. So if Lyle is getting crapped on as much as he is tonight, he might get crapped on to the point of oblivion. He won't be Mufasa, or he will be Mufasa. He'll be dead. I think that was the reference. 3.5-point favorite. So if he loses, it won't be good for Lyle. But if you think he is going to lose, or if you think he can find a way to get a victory, BetUS, YouTube 150, the promo code, 150% sign-up bonus. That will get you up to $2,000 on your first deposit and 125% bonus on your next 2 deposits after that. Just when I thought we had our last dig at Lyle Shanahan.
Oh, my goodness.
We got another. Garth Knight, Lyle Shanahan, King in the North. I feel like I read that one earlier, but did he send it to Garth? Did you send that one again? I swear to God, I feel like I read that earlier.
He might have double dipped it again.
This is a barrage, Dave. I'm a diehard Niner fan. Fire Lyle.
That's the show's went for 3 hours straight. People just keep donating.
Kyle Shanahan belongs in a soap opera. What does that even
Barry
mean?
Kyle. Oh my God, guys. Good Lord. I saw Jesse Shanahan.
Screw hurricane
Man.
preparation. You just got to sit through this. Just endless messages.
Lyle getting
What
roasted.
this even means, though, if you put Kyle Shanahan in a soap opera, I don't even. I mean, the Super Bowls have felt like soap operas. They were that dramatic. I mean, I guess that's. I don't know.
Man.
I've never watched a soap opera, but maybe if I go back and watch like Young and the Restless or whatever it's called, Kyle Shanahan, hasn't that show been on for like 85 years? Maybe Kyle Shanahan can make an appearance. I don't know.
Kyle Shanahan can be the dad. I don't know.
I got to get us out of here before people give us more hard-earned money talking about Kyle Shanahan. We might get flagged on YouTube for the amount of talk we spent on Kyle Shanahan tonight. He might send a cease and desist. I have no idea, but I got to get us out of here before we get in trouble. Great show tonight, fellas. Loved talking about what happened in week 5, despite the fact that, Mike, you were the only one that probably loved talking about what happened in week 5. But don't worry, week 6 is around the corner, and we're going to be talking all about that. And a show coming up for you later on in the week. We'll be previewing week 6. So make sure to hit the like button and subscribe button on the way out the door so that you get notified of that upcoming episode. And then, of course, on your way out, BetUS, promo code YouTube150 for that 150% bonus on your first deposit up to $2,000. It's never going to end. 808-9er. Lyle is an uncrowned king. And Maddox is saying Lyle doesn't have fire in his gut. No Cards.
It's like,
This is a merch opportunity, guys. Clearly people would buy something with Lyle on it.
Jesse, yeah, I don't know where your merch shop's at right now. We got a shirt, Lyle. Even Fire Lyle at this point would be blowing off the shelves.
What I love about
Lion Lyle, do Lion Lyle beneath it when it's just on the front of the shirt. That's all you need, just the font.
It's not even like the lowest of digs. It's like the nicest, most creative, yet weirdly like low blow dig. I don't even know how to describe it. Nobody's coming out and saying I hate the guy. They're saying soap opera. He's got no guts. He poops his pants. It's like kind in the way they're saying I hate this guy. It's incredible. But I got to get out of here. I got to go watch that Kyle Shanahan soap opera. So I think you guys do. For Mike, for Brandon, for Jesse, for Jake, I'm your host, Zeba. Much love as always for tuning into the NFC West Roundtable, and we'll see you on the next one, everybody.
Go Hawks.